anxietycenter.com.
Yeah, I did have a question about like the despair, that goes along with the whole issue of trying to get better.
Yeah.
Of working with level 1 and level 2, and like, how do you handle the despair of being worn out, from the symptoms and from working with level 1 and level 2, and not fearing, um, you know, uh, level 2's
Yeah.
progression, and
Yeah.
no matter what you tell your brain, you still feel like you're waking up to Groundhog Day every day.
Yeah.
It just goes on. So I'm just wondering about that. How do you handle that part of it? I mean, because it does come into the picture. It does for everybody
It does. Yeah, it's quite common for sure.
during the process of trying to get better.
Yeah.
And I know spiritually things can come in there.
Yep.
But you still feel despair. I mean, you can look at Psalms and see King David had a lot of despair.
Sure did. Yeah.
So wondering how you deal with that. It's not really a depression, but it almost feels like a depression.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's despair. It's being worn out.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't know if I can. Maybe if I just didn't do anything, it would just go away.
Right. Yeah. I hear that so often. I went through the same thing. I mean, realistically, think about the work we have to do and the symptoms we have to endure, and for how long. Who wouldn't be despaired? Seriously. It's hard. It's difficult. Some of the hardest work we ever have to do in our lives. When you think of people who are struggling with anxiety disorder, we have to deal with stuff that most people don't ever have to. A lot of people just, kind of naive about things in the world. They don't even think about the risk. Well, we think about the risk because we grew up in environments where we had to. So that becomes our norm. So there's a lot of reasons why we should be feeling despairing. Depressed body, symptomatic, long struggle, doesn't look like there's going to be an end to the thing. All those things will build into despair. But this is where we have to move to using our thinking again to realize that anxiety is caused by a problem. You solve the problem, you solve anxiety. So what's the problem I have to solve? And sometimes it's not bad to take a break either when you're feeling kind of burnt out and you've done a lot of stuff and things don't seem to be going very far. You can just take time out and say, I'm just going to focus on stress reduction for now. That's all I'm going to do. Not going to worry about the past, not going to worry about the underlying factors. Since my symptoms are stress related, if I just focus on that for now, focus on doing pleasant things, getting my stress down, and then as I start to feel better, then I can re-engage again at some point. So taking breaks is not bad either. So there's lots of ways to break up the despair. For me, it was different for me because I didn't see hope because no one had been through it before. The information I was accessing really wasn't that complete. I didn't know if my recovery efforts would even pay off. I had no real milestones to work toward other than I really had no choice. Either I keep working or I stay stuck in what I hated. So for me, it was just sheer determination to get through it. But now that there's so much information and so many success stories and proven methods that work, it's really just a matter of, plotting our course, taking our time, one step in front of the other, taking a break when we need it, resuming when we think we're ready to go, and moving on. So just realize you don't have to be doing this work, solidly day after day, month after month, year after year until you're done. You can work at it, focus on stress reduction, get your symptoms down, then resume again when you feel like it. So it doesn't have to be that drudge of recovery.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about that. I canceled my appointment with Stacy a couple of days ago because I had just turned in the level, the trauma 11 through 20, and those were my worst years. And I thought, I don't know if I could do it anyway. So I canceled the appointment with them and for next month, and so October. But I guess he's used to that. But anyway, and it took me forever to do that 11 through 20. It took me a long time. The paper thing sat there forever.
Yeah.
I didn't have it emotionally in me to pick it up and go through those years.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because as I'm writing them down, I'm thinking, this was really traumatic to me. but it may not be that traumatic to somebody else or something.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it's like, I don't know. And it was hard because it was like my whole 10 years there. It's sort of every day was kind of traumatic,
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but just being in that state as a child, it was like I was very depressed, and it's like every day didn't seem to be
Yeah.
uh, good. So it was hard to even write down what trauma was,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a
Uh,
really important first step, is to write it down and get it out. And a lot of people struggle with it. One of the larger mistakes that I often see is that when people do that and then they stop right there. They don't ever go back and work through it, because even though it's difficult work and even though it can bring up some really tough emotions and memories,
yeah.
doing that work is so, so important for long-term success. I've seen a lot of people stop and say, well, I'm not going to do it. It's not really that. I'm just going to go and do cognitive behavioral things that touch on the surface. They never really get better because the
And
beliefs are still there.
it did open up some doors for me, in the sense of knowing that, hey, you know what? I didn't feel safe at that age, and no
Yeah.
wonder.
Yeah.
It opened up a lot of thinking, and I thought, well, and then it made me think about my childhood, and no wonder I didn't feel safe, because if you don't have parents around to guide you and make you feel safe and that are there, then children really don't know how to process
Exactly.
how to
Yep.
process when things come up, and they don't have anybody but themselves, and things, they're taking
Yep.
care of themselves. They don't have the ability to process that, and I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
That you really don't have that ability. That's what parents are for.
Yep.
Be
Yep.
around, and so I never really thought about that until I started writing stuff down too. So writing stuff down has helped. It has helped me figure out,
Hmm.
that that was a big issue. Yeah, that's right. In my brain.
Well, there'll be a
So,
lot more big issues coming up through that information as you say, aha, oh, that's what happened. Oh, there's a lot of that goes on. And those are pivotal moments because those change belief systems. Yeah,
yeah.
that's why it's so important to do that work.
And I had friends tell me, like, you don't even need to be hashing up the past. It
Yeah.
doesn't do any good to go back to the past. And I was saying, you know what? I said, you had sort of a semi perfect family
Yes.
and my around. And I said, you don't know. I said, sometimes you have to emotionally dig in, because honestly, that small child is still living in you,
Yep.
still there, and it's still rehashing. And I believe in mind body connection. And I do think that sometimes it'll make us sick,
Yep.
keeping those things in and not figuring out,
Yep.
you know.
Especially traumatic things, they really do hold power over us in subconscious ways. We just don't understand it. And so, and I know I sort of read a lot of research on, therapy approaches say, oh, you don't have to go back that, or you're reestablishing or re-entrenching the trauma and all those things. But we find that people, when they don't do that work, they don't get better long term. They might have some symptom relief. They might feel good, for a short period of time, but they're usually right back in it because the belief system hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it helped too. Like my family, we're we all seem to have these issues, my brother and my sister, and, anxiety and depression. She's on meds for years, and my brother
Yeah.
has a lot of, and we're not real lovey. And I always thought, I always thought my sister, she never really cared about me. She was around, and my brother was around, my brother that passed away. And that's
Mm-hmm.
who I lived with. We lived in the house, and my mom left and my dad left. And I was like, 9, 10, I was about 10, 12 years old. But anyway, 11 years old when my mom left. But it was like, I brought up a thing where my parents were in a big fight, and my dad was chasing my mom around with a knife because
Mm-hmm.
he wanted the checkbook. And I told my sister, and I asked her, because I said, because I have no memory of this, but I was there, and I was probably about 7 years old.
Yeah.
I have no memory. But she finally, I dug it out of her to let me know, well, what happened and what was going on? And she said, well, I came in between mom and dad. She said, I took you and I put you in the living room, and I went next door and got the neighbor. And when she told me that, I thought, you know what? My sister did love me.
Yeah.
She took me out of that situation. She
Yeah.
didn't have to, but she put me in the living room away from what was going on. And so just bringing that up, and that showed me a different look at my sister.
Yep. Yep.
She did care. So it is hard to hash this stuff back up, but it did help me to understand, her, and that, well, she did love me, my sister. She cared about me.
Yeah.
She's 6 years older than me, but
one of the important things about looking back at these things, we look at it from an adult perspective, an adult vantage point, the different, different eyes. That's what makes a huge difference. Yeah.
That's right. It really does. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I quite understand. Level 2 is not going to be easy, and it's probably going to be forever. But
I wouldn't say forever. I mean, we all make good progress, and there's things we change. It's like peeling back an onion too. Sometimes, as we start to feel better about things, we just say, "Oh, what about this?" And it starts to become more of a enthusiastic approach rather than kind of a drudge. Because right now, it probably looks daunting, and we hear that a lot. But as you get into it, you'll find that it's probably not the animal you think it is. But it's very, very cathartic. It's very, very relieving and transformative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, well, I appreciate you answering my question. And the despair part is just going to be a part of it.
Yep. Treat it just like another symptom.
Yeah.
Yeah. As your body feels better, you won't be in that despair. And as you see better progress and things changing and new insights coming, that despair just goes by itself.
I'll just be glad when I get a cloudy break from this, the vestibular stuff.
Oh.
That to me is what I concentrate on every day. And I'm thinking, this is a symptom of anxiety.
Yeah.
I just can't seem to stop concentrating on that symptom. And that's the way you do when you have anxiety problems.
Yeah.
You concentrate on, and you hear that with everybody talking today on Skype, that there's always one thing or two things that they just concentrate on, but really it's just a symptom of it. And I have to tell myself that every day when I'm in the shower, trying to shower or cooking or whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, this is not, anything that's going to kill me. This is a symptom of anxiety, which I've never had this symptom before. All the other symptoms I had since I was a child. So I knew what they were, and I dealt with them, but they were horrible. But when this one came on me, I was thinking a new symptom.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like Clara Week says, that once you have symptoms, they don't change. Like you don't get new ones, and she's definitely wrong about that.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you do get new symptoms. You do get new symptoms.
Yep.
And I get angry at myself for even getting this symptom.
Well, your body's just going to respond the way it does, right? That's it. Yeah.
So,
and you will be amazed once that starts to lift, and as your hyperstimulation comes down, it does lift, which is the good news. That's what you're working toward.
Yeah. And it's just like you said, it's just getting the stress down, and it's not fearing the symptoms is a big part. Accepting them and not fearing them, and that has worked for me. But then sometimes it doesn't. You know how you go back and forth.
Yep. And you'll do better over the course of time than we react. That's just how it is. We only gain that confidence by just being persistent with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, quick question though: how long did it actually take for you to actually get a certain degree of a cloudy break from that main symptom? Because I know that was a very hard symptom for you, and it was 24/7 with you too, wasn't it?
It was.
Much?
Yeah. It was one of the last ones to go. So I'd say about a year and a half is when I started to get some breaks from the dizziness.
So you mean like breaks, like hour breaks during the day, or?
It started off with just little glimmers. I'd be doing something. It's like, gee, I'm not dizzy.
Yeah, I've gotten that.
Yeah, and then it's like, oof, right back. You wake up the next day and it's like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so it took me a long time. It was one of the few that took the longest to go over the course of my recovery.
So for that type of a symptom, is it normal for you to feel normal if you're like, I have no issues driving and I have no issues like laying down or if I'm sitting, unless I'm sitting straight up with no support and then I'm swaying and whatever, but the walking and the standing and the derealization that goes with it and the sensory stuff, I mean, like, would that still be considered, right, a symptom of anxiety?
It is. Yeah. Be
in a car and be normal.
Yeah. Well, for me, mine was everywhere. I didn't have a reprise of it. Driving was the worst because you have moving traffic, and my brain was trying to process all that movement. So I was having to, so if you're getting it in only certain places, then that's how your body's going to respond to stress. So
Okay, that's what I was told too by somebody else, that I've connected, like you just said, like I've connected it with certain things like standing. Like as soon as I get up, I'm going to think to myself, well, if I get up, I'm going to get floaty and dizzy and pulling and all that weird feeling. So
yeah,
that is happen when I get up.
yeah,
And, but
yeah,
I know that it's going to happen when I'm in a car. So when I'm in a car, I feel normal because I'm
yeah,
not fearing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you'll probably find that over the course of time. And here's the thing too with that symptom, as it starts to abate, we don't pay attention to it. So it'll be some time when you'll recognize, yeah, I wasn't dizzy my whole day. It's not like say, oh, I wasn't dizzy from noon to 2. Because it fades so gradually, we just kind of ignore it after a while, and it just disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gradual part is what sucks.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's the hardest part about hyperstimulation. It just takes so long for the body to recover. Yeah.
Become in your brain, it's become such an unsafe thing that you're going to automatically go there until you tell your brain that it's not a big deal. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
More ball.
Yeah. That's the very passive acceptance. We really just have to learn to tolerate. Yeah.
If it's worked with other symptoms for me, then it can work with this one too. And I have to keep telling myself that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, different bodies respond to symptoms differently. So one person will have one symptom that lingers, another person will have a different one that lingers. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing.
It's all the same thing. It's all anxiety driven.
Yep.
And fear driven. So that's what I was telling her. She got dizzy, but if she had latched onto that and totally been freaked out and the freak is going to happen again and again, then it turned chronic because the brain recognizes it as a fear.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah.
And, we also have to fight, the survival mechanism, natural focus on what we think is dangerous.
I know. See, it's an automatic thing too, which is hard because then that's just an automatic thing that happens to everybody. So that makes it even more difficult,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can mess up your whole day if it happens bad.
Yep.
And scares you about it like all day. You're like freaking out. Is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again?
Well, that's the thing. And that's what a lot of times we have to deal with. We have to be prepared that it does happen again, and not imagine that it's going to. Yeah.
And sometimes if it does happen, like it doesn't happen how often, but if I get a little quick spin for like 2 seconds, that's the ones that are, but I don't get them very often.
Yeah.
And they surprise you. Yeah. It's like when that happens, it's like sometimes I'll go back and I'll redo what I just did.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing it. Like if I was turning a certain way and it happened, I'll just keep turning that way and say, well, it's not happening again. It's not happening again. So that I won't be afraid of it the next time I turn.
Right.
Or bend down or whatever, however it happened.
Yeah.
So just, I guess, conditioning your brain that it's nothing to be afraid of.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. Isn't that threat? Yeah.
But anyway, well, okay. Well, I know you have to go, and I appreciate you getting back with me at the end to ask me if I need, because I was just going to wait until the next time.
Well, sometimes those openings don't come up, do they?
I know, and I want everybody else to talk to. These are young people, and I want them to. I can't imagine having this disorder as bad as some of them do, and being young and raising children. It's hard. It's hard.
It certainly is.
But anyway, well, I wish you luck on your surgery when you do get it, and
thank you very much.
I'm praying for you. I wish that you lived here, and if you lived here in America, I swear you'd be getting surgery next week.
I know. Well, here's the thing. I had my diagnosis last June, and towards the spring of this year, one of our therapists was having a failing hip. So she went in, got assessed. She had her surgery within 2 months, and she's already back working again. And here I'm still waiting. Oh my!
So how did that happen? Is it because, I don't understand why you're having to wait so long?
Well, we have a public medical system here.
Yeah,
and a lot of people do not want to go to private public, so everything's public, and our medical system is so behind. Of course, COVID didn't help; it just made the waiting list longer. But you have to wait, and so for me, when I was diagnosed, they say, well, you have to wait 18 to 20 months to see the surgeon for your first consult, and then another 18 to 20 months to get your surgery. So I've waited 14 months now, so I'm thankful, shaved a few months off of that. But just because there's so many people who are waiting in line for surgery because our medical system is so backwards. That's the problem. And so public healthcare system is not something to desire. It's just too inefficient.
Yeah,
Well,
I have a cousin.
can't you come over here, Jim? Like I've heard some people come from Canada to get surgeries.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
Just come over here.
Yeah, I have friends there, and it's an out-of-pocket expense. Our government won't pay for it, so you pay for the surgery yourself and accommodations and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not cheap.
No, that's the thing. It's not cheap. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I have a cousin who lives in Canada, but they've got money for their own doctors.
Yeah,
they got a lot. So
yeah,
it's different. And she's all gaga, and I'm saying to her, you're not like the majority of people that have to wait on everything. Really,
Yeah, that's the thing. And same with politicians. They get pushed right to the front of the line, so they are never convinced there's a problem with the medical system because they get top-notch service. Where if you're just Joe Public, you just wait and wait and wait. Even our emergency room waits are 6 to 8 to 10 hours.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So do you know when you're gonna? Do they give y'all any kind of a close range or when or?
I'm hoping to get more information on my visit next week.
Well, good. Well, I'll be praying that God opens up a door for you, because you know what? He can do that.
Totally, he sure can. You bet.
Nothing he can't do. Nothing.
Well, speaking of God, it was interesting because when I already had a hip replacement once on my right side. My dad had hip replacements, and so I knew I was signing up for it, and I did everything I possibly could to avoid it. Exercise, I was at the gym 3.5 hours every second day, thinking I'd avoid that. But over the course of time, that darn cartilage, genetic stuff kicked in, and so I had one hip replaced. But in that replacement, we were praying about it. And I was the last person to be involved in a trial on a new hip procedure, which I took. And so I had the procedure done right away and for nothing. I was part of the trial, so that was nice. So we've been praying about this as well. So hopefully God will intervene. That'd be nice.
Right. He already knows, right?
Yeah. Oh, sure. You bet. Yeah.
Anyway,
now, before we go today, Brianna, you said you had a few more questions.
Yep, they'll be really quick, I promise. I know you gotta go. I actually left and then came back like, wait a minute, I forgot to ask him. Okay. I already asked you this question, but I didn't understand your answer, and a part of that is because I also have confusion as one of my symptoms, so it's hard for me to comprehend stuff sometimes.
Yep.
So sometimes when, like, if you tell me if I can hear you say it, it comprehends.
Okay.
It was about sugar. Now, I know that I've read sugar can make things worse, but how much sugar is too much sugar? Because I love sugar, but I don't binge on it. But if I want a cookie one day and then a Kit Kat bar the next day, can I have that? Without, because I noticed that when I drank, remember I told you I drank that cup of decaffeinated coffee and had a really bad reaction with anxiety.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was decaf. It's the littlest thing sets me off. So I'm wondering how much sugar is too much sugar for me? Because I notice if I don't know if it's related to sugar or what, but usually if I eat too much of it, I will, if I eat something sugary for 5 days straight, I'll have some reaction to it. And I wondered if that was maybe the sugar or if it's just, whatever my body's doing due to hyperstimulation. Yeah,
sugar plays a minor role in hyperstimulation. Okay. It can aggravate it, but it's not the major factor. Behavior is a major factor, and hyperstimulation is. So you can, have little bits of sugar each day. You don't have to completely avoid it.
I can have a bowl of cereal and not be, because I'm actually I became afraid to go get myself a bowl of cereal at night for dinner because I just don't feel like cooking, because I'm tired.
Yeah, no,
is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, if you're having a soft drink in the morning and 3 or 4 chocolate bars and a piece of cake and pie before you go to bed, that's a little different.
Yeah, no, but a bowl of cereal's fine, or maybe even just a little chocolate bar or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, too, if you've attached a fear to taking any kind of sugar or eating, if you're thinking in your head, okay, I'm going to eat, if I eat the sugar I've already eaten, and I'm going to start having these symptoms or anxiety or something, it's going to happen because you've attached that whatever you're doing to fear.
Yeah. I know. And
being afraid, because that's kind of happened to me with when doctor said I had vestibular migraines and had to do with food and all that. Well, it's not true. How can you go from drinking orange juice one day and then all of a sudden the next day getting headaches or or getting dizziness from orange juice when the day before you didn't. So it doesn't make sense. But what people do is they'll attach certain things like that to fear, and then when you do it, you have your symptoms will come out.
Yeah.
That fear.
No, but I wasn't worried about it until the symptoms happened. So then that's what, yeah. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that actually makes me feel better, Jim. Thank you for that.
You're more
Because
than welcome.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can eat sugar and not be worried. Because, yeah, you answered that, but I didn't. It's hard for me to comprehend sometimes. So
Yeah, low to moderate intake is fine, and I wouldn't place like a huge emphasis on nutritional things at the moment. I mean, unless you're doing, caffeine, that's different.
No,
But
I don't drink anything caffeine.
Yeah.
But like I'm like, okay, so should I not drink apple juice? Should I not have orange juice? Should I not eat a bowl of cereal? Like, what am
Yeah. Now,
are there certain times of the day I shouldn't eat this stuff? Yeah.
But you'll also have to be the one to determine how it affects you. Like, for example, 1 cup or a glass full of apple juice has a lot of sugar, and you might notice that it's just going to irritate that hyperstimulation in a way that you don't like. So you may want to cut the volume back or replace it with something that's not as sugary. So you'll have to be determine how your body's going to respond to the sugar you ingest. But low to moderate sugar intake probably is not going to hurt you much.
Okay. Because I notice I feel better when I eat sugar too, like emotionally. It's weird.
Well, it does. It does kick in those nice pleasure hormone or endorphins.
Yeah, and I'm like, ooh, I could just eat and eat and eat. But then I'm also like gaining weight. Like since all this started, I gained 10 pounds. And I'm like, oh, well, I hear about all these people losing weight, but I'm gaining it. And that's not, I'd rather lose it. But
Yeah.
but I need to stop on the sugar, but I'm still gaining weight because I'm also, here's my other question, worried about is how much activity is too much activity,
Yeah.
So, and I need to work out. I need to lose weight. Like I'm actually overweight for my height and age. So,
yeah.
I'm not that much overweight, but I could lose a good 30 pounds and be in a really healthy range. And I want to lose weight, but I'm worried about, like doing too much. Like, and the reason why, and this is not your fault, Vanessa, at all, I promise, but it's because that video, and she said she was overworking out and didn't know if she was overworking out. So I'm like, wait, now what is overworking out? So I'm kind of worried now. Am I doing too much? So yeah, I'm not really working out, but like.
Yeah, I still work out the same way I used to, and I'm drinking coffee. I know it's so bad.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, no, it's not.
When you said coffee, I was like, guilty.
Yeah. Caffeine will get that nervous system going.
I miss coffee so much, you guys. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've reduced it though. I only have one in the morning, and it's very minimal.
Oh, yeah.
Teaspoon, one teaspoon.
I'm so physically reactive to coffee anyway. Like I physically shake even on a healthy level. Like when I'm at my healthiest, like I still shake a little bit or get the shakies. So I just probably should.
But guess, I mean, I still work out and the symptoms went away. The only one that's lingering is just that one, the derealization. But all other symptoms, they're all gone.
Okay, so I should be good to work out then. Like it's not anything I should worry about. I'm not going to go weightlifting, but I would like to start walking.
Don't take my advice. Let's see what Jim has to say.
Okay.
Well, walking is good. Leisure exercise is great. Cycling, walking, swimming, if you're not really pushing it, those are all good things to keep your body going. Again, here's where you're going to have to determine for yourself how your body's responding to the exercise you're doing. Because exercise stresses the body, increases metabolism. Hyperstimulation increases metabolism, so you're going to have to decide what's too much or not enough. Yeah, I don't recommend weight training, especially with rigorous exercise.
I'm so physically weak, I couldn't do that anyway.
Yeah, walking's good. I mean, walking's a good thing. It also burns off excess stress hormones, so that's a good exercise to do. Cycling is good too because it's low impact. Those things are good as long as you're not doing them for 3 hours.
No, but I can do like 10 minutes here, maybe work my way up to 20 minutes kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so out of shape. Like all this stuff has made me just stop doing a lot. And I'm like, if I do just even a little bit, I'm going to end up having a reaction, and I'm trying to avoid that. I don't want it to regress my progress. That's, I guess, what I'm going
If it's mild to moderate, you won't. It's actually beneficial. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's, okay, that's good. And then my last question was, so I asked you that question, and going back to the earworms. I asked you that question a ways back, and you answered it, but the very last thing you said confused me. So I asked you a rebuttal question, and you didn't get around to that one. So that's okay.
What was your rebuttal question?
So you had mentioned, you said that the earworms would go away gradually over time, but they might take a bit longer due to the habit of replaying melodies in my head. So when
Yeah.
you said that, I thought, oh, does that mean like I'm doing it? I'm the habit, like I'm making them, or did you mean just my head doing, like, is it something I'm doing? Like I'm the habit, I'm making the habit, or is it something that just hyperstimulation is doing, making a habit?
Well,
That's what
hyperstimulation can make that a habit, repeating, because they increase in electrical activity in the brain. But also, if a person likes to hum melodies, that's also a behavioral habit. So
yeah,
if
I
you
don't
like,
do that.
if you like to hum melodies and those things, me being a musician, I do. Hum melodies, come up with ideas, and those kind of things. So my brain is always thinking of music. But if you're not a musician and you're not humming melodies because you like them, then it's likely just a hyperstimulation.
Okay, that's what I was confused on. I'm like, okay, he said habit. Does that mean I'm making the habit? I'm doing this? I was confused, and I asked you that question, but I know you were busy like doing stuff with your website, so I wasn't like, I'll just ask him when I talk to him next.
Yeah, when we opened up for questions, we got bombarded.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Yeah, and then we're trying to do videos at the same time, and videos just take so long. We're trying to think of ways to speed them up, but yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you all again for your participation today. I should run before the carpenters show up. Thank you so much for, again, being vulnerable, being willing to talk about these things so others can benefit. Again, we hear so many positive comments of people talking about the value. And unfortunately, on a YouTube channel, you do get some negative people and spammers and things, but that's kind of how things are these days. But I really do appreciate your comments and conversations and supporting each other. It really means a lot. So thank you so much. And we'll be posting again when we meet next time. Hopefully it'll be just next month.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, and God bless you.
And God bless all of you. And look forward to those days when we can get together and you'll all say, "Hey, I'm doing great." That's what we work for is making sure you're all through this and raising wonderful families and living a wonderful life free of anxiety disorder. So God bless you all too. And until next time, you take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.